Good afternoon, RT here from Hxro Labs, and today I'm going to talk about the Pump Chaser Zone. It's exciting, it's big, it's fascinating, and I can't wait to get started. Before I do though, please hit the like button and the subscribe button if, of course, you like what we're doing here and you'd like to subscribe to the channel. It's free, costs you nothing, makes me feel good about myself. So, moving forward here, we have the Pump Chaser Zone, also known as the PCZ. It's made up of a 0, a 0.382, a 0.5, and a 1. Of course, I'm talking about the Fib Retracement tool, which can be found on this panel drop down right here, Fib Retracement. And when you get yours out of the box, it's going to look like this. It's kind of gross, not that useful. But much like with the Chaos PRZ, which I did a video on last week, you can watch here, the Fib extension, the Pump Chaser Zone, the Reload Zone can all be programmed in. And once you've done that, once you've set that up, you can just set it as a template, save as. And that's going to make it really handy for moving quickly through your charts because there's like thousands of coins to scan, lots of things to do. You don't have time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. So just set up a little template here and you're all good. Now for today's video, I'm going to actually change one thing. I'm going to make these white. I usually keep them pretty secret on the chart, don't need them showing, but for today I want them to be super obvious. Now what this tool does is it tells us how much of a move or a rally the market is likely to take back. So let's pretend this is price and it's moving up and it's moving up and it's moving up. That's the rally. The rally is complete. So 0 is the beginning of where we're measuring from, and 1 is the end. That would be taking the entire thing back 100%. So to apply the Pump Chaser Zone to this bit of price action, I would take the bottom, which is the 1, and I would measure up to the 0. And now I'm saying I'm going to measure, is this 0.382 means 38.2% of the move back down. So if I'm expecting maybe price will come back here, that's 38.2% of the move. That's 50% of the move, a common Gann sort of principle. Market's taking back half the move in half the time. And then of course it can always go a little lower, a little higher, whatever. So if you're ever wondering what are these numbers and what are they doing, they're telling us how much percent is the market likely to take back. Now in a strong trending market, in a very bullish market where there's lots of buy volume flowing in, buy volume is an important part of this tool. And that's why this one's a little complicated, because you got to understand a couple other things. When to use this tool versus when to use a reload zone, which is a little more chintzy in the sense that you're going to get price at a cheaper level, but it'll get left behind a lot more of the time in a strong trending market. So because we're in a strong trending market, I want to talk about the Pump Chaser Zone today. And you often see it on my charts with this label. Obviously, that's something I put in custom. You don't have that built into it, but it looks nice when you're displaying, so I use that. So today we're going to draw a few for practice. We're going to explore some of the use cases of this tool, how it's best used, perhaps how best not to use it, and then of course explain some of the obvious risks that come with any trading, because this thing, one of the reasons I have a tough time trading this myself is that oftentimes it just gets poked a little bit. So like, where do you set your stop loss? Right, you really need to be looking at previous pivot lows for stop losses, even though the zone is nice and cute. So it works really well when you're maybe going in with size that you don't really mind getting washed out. Like just say I put 5% of my portfolio into something, technically risking that entire 5% is within my risk parameters. So even if it went to 0 next day, CEO dead in a car crash, SEC moving in, project shut down, total hack, whatever, I'm still maxing out at 5%. If I want to really size up beyond that, with leverage, whatever, not recommended. But if I did, this gets trickier because suddenly using stop losses, they get poked a lot, even though looking back, they hit perfectly. So once you've set up your Pump Chaser Fib with these settings, 382, and these can go in any boxes, right? You could type in 0.5 over here, it'll still work. So they all come preset, but you can adjust all those. You don't want to have the reverse on, and the right side is usually where I like to put the labels. So there you go. We're all set up. Now let's take a look at Matic. The Matic chart was just begging for a pump earlier this year. Okay, we had lots of slow, kind of meandering downtrend, got down to the bottom. There was bullish divergence on a few of these indicators, suggesting that momentum had started to shift back towards the bull side. See here as it made a new low, MACD was already headed positive. Same with the RSI. OBV, not really. So I was looking at the Matic chart. I thought, man, that's really cool. I don't know if I just want to park capital here and sit and wait. things weren't that exciting at the start of January? Or do I want to wait for it to pump and then I will chase it? This is right off the bottom. I wouldn't expect it to just run straight up. Markets tend to like to move gradually and then suddenly. But after this move here and this nice pop again on a nice breakout on volume, I thought, okay, it's time for me to get in. I'm ready to chase the pump, but I don't like buying highs. I never do it, right? If something's just blasting off into outer space, there's no reason for me to ever just buy at that high, because I know after enough time in the markets that I can almost always get a 382 pullback at some point. And I'm going to demonstrate that today in this video, and then you guys can play around with this. Just remember, there's no perfect science to this. There's a few things you definitely want to do, like use this magnet tool. Okay, that's something I would say is like a for sure rule. But exactly where and how to apply this, what works best, that's something you learn over time, collecting data, practicing, paper trading right here on TradingView. You can get your paper trading account set up right here. Okay, so there's all kinds of ways to practice this without blowing your stack if that's something you want to do. Now look here, big breakout on volume. Do I chase it? No. Set some bids down here in the pump chaser zone, 107, 113, ready to go. Takes off. Somebody else might see this and say, oh man, I saw that chart the other day, but I didn't buy it. Do you think I should chase that pump? Nope. Not without the pump chaser zone, which at this point, from the low to the new high, measures, let me get these on here nice and white so we can see them nice and bright. All right, new high, look again, it works again. It's chasing the pump, it's moving up. Did I have a stop loss right here? This is why I struggle with this tool. I typically use it more for like longer term holds where I'm not too worried. I'm certainly not levering up, and I'm sizing so that I don't really mind if it blows past me and I have to figure it out later. Stop losses at the 0.5. Sometimes they work in a very strong trending market. I find my data shows that it's best to find other ways to manage risk with sizing rather than sticking stop losses at these 0.5s. Anyways, pump chaser zone works. No matter what though with this thing, it's always a better entry than just buying the highs, right? Even if it's like, oh, well, it didn't go perfect. It's like, it's a guaranteed better entry than literally just buying the pump, chasing it. Now, moving up again. Another nice break to highs here and smack down right into the pump chaser zone for someone who's late. Oh my God, is it going to happen again? Well, we'll see. Just made another high today. If I was trying to buy Matic right now and I didn't have enough, I do have a bag, this would be an area where I can hunt. Always willing to be left behind, never chasing, FOMOing and wasting money and, taking on added risk just to get into something. There's always going to be another coin, always another pump. This is how I chase them. So that's Matic. Now let's take a look at Bitcoin. So one of the things you got to understand is, generally speaking, the strongest way to draw it is off the bottom pivot to the highest pivot. That's where you're getting the most valid sort of fib. However, once you get a new consolidation, sort of what I call fresh market structure, where you have a nice trend, and then it's like a bounce, low, low, and then a breakout. There's a new bottom here, like a W breakout, right? So to me, that's a new valid pivot low that I can then consider a range where I'm then chasing the pump from. So if you're ever wondering how the heck I decide where to put these, it's usually from a pivot low that was followed by a fresh set of market structure, which is like a W formation with a new high. In this case, with Bitcoin, early January, we had a bit of a shakeout through the middle of January, I should say. And all that really equated to was a dip down into the pump chaser zone. On an investment level, if I'm like, man, I don't want to chase this, I better chase it up with my fib. And when it hits a high, I can start bidding these 382s, these 0.5s. In this case, you can see it worked really well. It works freakishly well a lot of the time in a strong trending market. Keyword. You've got to have rising buy volume. You've got to have a lot of FOMO in the market. If it's a flat consolidation-y market or just kind of quiet in general, this thing will often fail. You're often going to end up down in this kind of zone if it's a quiet market. And that's a video we're going to do another day. It's actually my favorite way to chase. But here we got a little more excitement, a little more speed. And again, this week and this weekend, kind of quiet, kind of boring, but what was it really? It was just a standard pullback into a pump chaser zone, and we're getting that reaction. So is this going to W out and continue? Basically hitting the fib extension. Yet another video that's coming up soon on this channel talking about fib extensions. I mean, it's smack last time. Do we go pump chaser zone, fib extension? Could it be that easy? Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. So we manage risk. We don't really know. Picked up some Bitcoin here. I was actually hoping to get some bids filled down here. And those aren't really out of the question here. I could see a short squeeze up and then more consolidation, and then we go. You just never know with this stuff. So deploying in partials, as I always talk about, is important. So you don't have to get it right. You just have to basically trend in the right direction. Now let's take DOT. DOT is a beautiful chart, and it's one that I'm going to pick because it has such strong signals. Really, I mean, strong project. Anyone who knows crypto figured DOT was probably going to have a good year, if anything was having a good year. So when you have this consolidation and then a little breakout here, little, test pump, if you will, nice volume coming in, now it's suddenly time to take a close eye, keep it on DOT here. And if you take a look here, you can actually see that some semblance of the pump chaser zone came in here. So off this pump up to $6, if I really, really want to get in, I figure I can probably get in at 5 or 4. But that's just, that's not even that clean, not that sexy. Again, better than just buying the high here, being patient, waiting for that. But check this out. After the pump, and I still remember this week because I thought, holy shit, this is like massive sustained buy volume, doubling and tripling the highs of anything really back through all the way to September. Something's coming up. This thing's about to move. And it had already broken out. But am I going to sit here and worry and cry and I didn't get it, I missed it? No, I'm going to chase that pump with the pump chaser zone. And as you can see here, fairly easily drawn. I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to spot pivot lows and pivot highs, right? You got your low point, you got your high point. The tricky part, I guess, is patience, right? At one point, this was the high. And again, I'll make these white so we can all see them. At one point, this was the high. And had I set my bids right there, well, I wouldn't have got filled. But don't chase. The next day, that's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days you're waiting. All the time watching price get away from you. You got to have faith in your system. You got to understand that at some point, all markets will come back and check. Somebody buying here will take their profit and they'll get out. And that's where you get these. And so anyways, drawing it up to here was the eventual local high. Look at this. Perfect slice right into the pump chaser zone. Everyone who is being patient getting rewarded in full. And then, of course, the pump. Now, you can just basically rinse and repeat this thing the whole way up. Now, here from the low, you're saying, oh man, never really got back to the pump chaser zone. That's right. Another way that I'll use this as I'm moving up through a trend is I can actually just set at the new pivot low. So we have this, now we have a new range. We're saying, oh, pivot low, pivot high, pump chaser zone, right? So again, in retrospect, kind of easy to do this. You say, well, this didn't work, but this did. You don't know at the time which one will. So like I said, collect data, practice with this thing, have a little fun with it. And you can even set, what if I had bought here? What if I had bought here? What if my stop loss was here? Collect that data. Start thinking maybe 50 trades out and you're like, holy shit, when I do it just this way, it's optimal. And then develop that for yourself as a trader. If you're here to take this stuff seriously, it's going to take some time, and that's okay. Because you know what? The markets, they're not going anywhere. Now take this low again. Moving up with the trend here. I want to keep chasing it. New trades, new trades, new trades. Look at that. Got up to a nice pivot high. Set my pump chaser zone. Filled. Beautiful. Dump day, no problem. Now let's get right up here. Let's look at the big picture. Somebody who's been waiting all the way from here. They really want to get that 382 on the high time frames. From low to high, pump chaser zone. So this kind of stuff, it's freaky. It just works all the time. I should say frequently, not every time. But in a strong trending market with growing buy volume, you can expect that this thing will smack. That's about it. On another video, we can talk about the bearish version of this, which I guess we could call the dump chaser zone. All right. And that's basically where you're just chasing price the other way. So for example, quick little example, these things do go both ways. In a bear market, you could say, as price breaks down, is it going to retrace up into that zone? The dump chaser zone. Now, we're not in a bear market right now. I'm not really looking to short DOT as the parachain auctions go live. But if we ever do get a market reversal, or I should say when we do, this is going to be a really nice tool to chase it down as well. So we're not just like selling on the most bearish days, getting squeezed up right into here, and then it continues, right? So it goes both ways. Have fun with it, guys. Manage risk. ask questions, come on Hxro Labs Live with me on Friday afternoons at 3 p.m. You can even ask us on DeltaFi Wednesdays at 3. I'll be on there with Crypto Messiah, Rob Levy, and Gunny every week at 3 p.m. Whatever you guys do, from now until then, always play from a position of strength. Take care.